This is Channel 4. Now with Sarajevo on the edge of collapse, a very personal report containing strong images of the war from honorary Bosnian Bill Tribe, who returned there earlier this year.
My name is Bill Tribe. My nationality is British, but by choice I have become a Bosnian, or more specifically, a Sarajevo, a citizen of Sarajevo. I am now a refugee in my own country. 9 months ago, the Bosnian Serb Party, together with the Yugoslav army, declared war on ethnically mixed Bosnia, and since then has torn it apart with racism. I haven't been in Sarajevo for 4 of those months, and now I am returning to see what has happened to the people I know there, and to try to communicate to the world the feelings not of the politicians or journalists or pundits, but of the innocent people who are being slaughtered for wanting to live together. The Serbian aggression has had almost no effect on what I suppose I have to call my Serbian friendships, although God knows I never thought of my friends ethnically. The great exceptions are those colleagues of mine in the university where I taught for 26 years who have joined the party of Radovan Karadzic, the leader of the Bosnian Serbs. I think especially of Nikola Koljevic here in this pub, where in 1976 he and I drank together. As we approached the pub, he said, "We'll be meeting a Yugoslav tonight. He's quite a nice fellow, really, although he's a Croat." I thought nothing of it at the time, but I've never forgotten it, and to me that remark now epitomizes the racism at the heart of Serbian nationalism. It was another Serbian friend of mine who coined a word for this slow murder of Sarajevo by Karadzic, Koljevic and their thugs: herbicide. Half my family is still in Sarajevo. My wife, Zdenka, is a Bosnian Croat. We are separated, but I hope to help her escape the city when I get there. With the help of the Bosnian presidency, for whom I was working as a translator, I myself left in August to be with my daughter, a refugee here in England. She was about to have her second child, while her husband remained in Sarajevo. I am taking with me documents which I hope will enable him to join her.
And the stupid thing was that in the week I left, a Sarajevo poet, not a very good poet, but I mean a good bloke, published a poem in the local paper about me. And it more or less said, you know, well, everybody else has let us down, but Bill Tribe has stayed. And he actually said in the poem, "I doubt if Bill Tribe knows where his passport is." You know, and not only did I know where my passport was, but I was on the way out with my passport. I feel I cannot re-enter the club, that is, the special club of the people who have stayed in Sarajevo throughout this thing. And you will see this when we go there. You will see this special feeling they have.
Friends tell me that Bosnia is finished and that I should move on somewhere else. But to me, that's rather as if someone you love very much has had a horrible disfiguring accident, and you say to yourself, "All right, I'll go and find somebody else. I won't bother about that person anymore." No normal person would do this. You have to go and see the person you love, whatever has happened to them. Sarajevo has been my life, It has given me everything. I can't desert it now. We are in Metkovic on the Croatian side of the Bosnian frontier, about to go in to Bosnia on an ODA convoy taking humanitarian aid up to Sarajevo. From now on, we're in the war zone. I shall see a lot of familiar places, no longer looking familiar. This is Sarajevo. I'm going at last to see my son-in-law and his family and to bring him news of his wife, my daughter Tamara, and the children, the new baby that he's never seen. So that's where we're going now.
Kako je bilo? Joj, pa... Od ti u pola 3, sinoć smo o vama pričali.
Ja, prije nedjelju dana nisam znao da ću doći.
Svaka čast.
Zahvalan sam njima.
Strašan si. Iznenadio si me, prijatelj.
Filmađije.
Strašan si. This room is onion room. This is my son. He lived in England and this is a chair. Onion room. This is a chair, onion, chair and car. And this is...
When the war started in April, my daughter, who was 5 months pregnant, managed to get evacuated to England with her small son. The photographs I have brought are Samir's first sight of the baby, the child he may never meet.
Sama pomisao da sam dobio drugog sina, da sam dobio dijete koje nikad nisam vidio, jer sam ga vidio na slici. To je teško.
Ja. Ja.
Mislim, to je težak onaj.
Ja. Ali ja vidim.
Teška stvar, ali čovjek mora biti stabilan. Ne, mora biti stabilan. Onaj mora biti stabilan i... Jer moje jedino je da preživim i da budem živ. A njihovo je da opstanem.
I have suggested to Samir that if the President's office still needs me as a translator, perhaps I can persuade them to keep me in exchange for letting him leave the city. Samir, like his brother-in-law Miodrag, is in the Bosnian army. Samir is a Muslim. Miodrag is a Serb.
Srbin, mislim, uopšte to ne gledam tako, niti moji drugovi ne gledaju. Nisam nikad imao problema da je neko rekao to je Srbin, to je neprijatelj, ovo, ono, mislim, nema nikakve razlike između nas dvojice, ni u razgovoru, ni o politici, ni o ratu, svi težimo istom.
Ti su loši Srbi, ti si dobar Srbin, ne? Jer je Karadžić uvijek pričao o tome kako on hoće da pretvori bosanski Srbi u dobri.
Da, u dobri. Mislim da je pogrešna je bila jedna teza od početka. Jako puno ljudi u Sarajevu, i srpske nacionalnosti, mislim, šta se podrazumijeva po tim Srbine. Mislim da jako je puno ostalo u Sarajevu, vjerno je u ovom gradu i ne bi željelo da ide iz njega i bori se za ovaj grad.
Yeah.
Samir solves a major problem by promising to find my wife and let her know that I am back. The war has made me homeless, and General Morion, the UN commander, now occupies the temporary accommodation that I was given while working for the presidency. Therefore, I have to find somewhere else to stay, in a city without phones, or electricity, or water, or fuel.
Through the good offices of the International Peace Centre here, we found somewhere to stay with one of the secretaries there, who turns out to have been a student at the faculty at which I taught. We knew each other, as it turned out, and we were invited very kindly by her to stay with her family. Here we are sitting by candlelight, and a little artificial light which comes from a car battery. On my right, Alma. Next to her, their father, Mr. Zečević, their mother, Mrs. Zečević, Selma, who invited us here. And that's the whole family.
I suppose the Serbian side would say that it all began with this. This is one of the posters that went up all over Sarajevo in the days and weeks before the March referendum that determined whether or not Bosnia-Hercegovina, like Slovenia and Croatia before it, should become a sovereign state. The words mean for a unitary Bosnia and Herzegovina, or more literally, for a whole Bosnia and Herzegovina. At that stage, the Serbian side had already decided that it would not participate. It had indeed declared that there was already in existence a Serbian Republic of Bosnia-Herzegovina, although that republic had no reality on the ground. A single bullet hole punctures the "and" connecting Bosnia and Herzegovina. Nothing significant in its place, of course, but the significance of this bullet hole is that it has passed through a considerable thickness of iron.
Ima zimi kod vas? Ima zimi? Nema. Jel zimi? Zima.
Zima, da.
A svima!
Thank you, and you. So. You can see this. We escaped from Dobrina 4. Yeah, it's difficult.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry to say I wasn't here for 4 months.
Really?
I left at the end of August. I got stuck in England because of that plane being shot down. I couldn't get back again.
Really?
So I came back with this film team to make a film about the town.
Nice. I read some articles in the newspaper about you.
Oh.
Maybe just 2 or 3 months ago.
Good.
Yeah, I was very happy.
I hope to be back again. We have to go back to England next week to finish the film.
Yeah, you are a citizen of Sarajevo.
Yes. Okay, take care.
Really? Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
A citizen of Sarajevo. Not a Muslim, or a Serb, or a Croat. Just a fellow citizen. As the Lion Cemetery shows, the guns of Radovan Karadzic also make little distinction between Muslim, Serb and Croat. I came here to find the grave of a Serbian friend, the sister of the man who coined the word herbicide for the seed which has replaced with graves the trees that used to fill this place. It was this friend who drew my attention to the first resistance to ethnic categories during the census 2 years ago.
There was much pressure from the three political parties which form the coalition, the Muslim Party, the Serbian and the Croatian parties, on their respective so-called nations to be sure to declare themselves in the census by the correct, relevant national name and with the correct, relevant religious affiliation. I learned that, for example, in a Serbian family, father had declared himself nationality Hottentot, religion Buddhist. The son had declared himself nationality Pacific Islander, religion Bogomil. Later on, when the full story of the pleasure that this, unfortunately, minority of sensible people had taken in putting absurd answers to these questions, it turned out that some people had put nationality, lampshade, religion, tablecloth, and such things. Such healthy rejection of ideological idiocy is something that this country so very badly needs.
With vicious irony, directly overlooking the cemetery is the window of the room in which, before he turned to mass murder, Dr. Karadzic practiced his psychiatry.
In May 1989, I came for treatment to Dr. Radovan Karadzic, recommended to me by a mutual friend, for treatment for the cyclical depression that I was suffering from at that time. I had a good first impression of him, and he said, "This will be very easy, there is no problem. I will put you on a regime of pills." And I was rather surprised only that he asked me no questions about the reasons for my condition, which were known to me, the background, what the nature of the problem was. He didn't seem to be interested in any of that, merely in directly clinically treating the condition. And very close to the end of the period, I felt one day extremely ill. And so I stopped taking the pills immediately. I could only ascribe this curious condition to them. Within 24 hours I felt better, and now arose the problem what to say to strict Dr. Karadzic when I went to see him on Monday morning. I came into this room, sat down, he was at the desk, he greeted me warmly. "How are you, Mr. Tribe? Kako ste, dobar dan," all this kind of stuff. And I said, "Oh, Dr. Karadzic, I think you're going to be very angry with me." And the smile, which millions of people now know, spread across that face, and he said, "Really, Mr. Tribe, why?" And I said, "Well," and explained what had happened. And he said, "Mr. Tribe, I'm so proud of you. At last you have shown an initiative." At this point I said to myself, right, when I walk out of this door, I am not coming back. Since then I have not met the monster. I don't want. I'll kill him if I do, with my bare hands.
Uspostavi Bosne i Hercegovine kao države, 3 suverena i konstitutivna naroda. Ratni zločinac Radovan Karadzic je rekao da će pregovori uspjeti, ali je pritome dodao da neće odustati od, kako je rekao, suverenosti srpskog naroda na prostorima koje smatraju svojima. Predsjednik takozvane Jugoslavije Dobrica Ćosić je rekao da njegova zemlja nema teritorijalnih pretenzija prema Bosni i Hercegovini. On prihvata dogovorno političko rješenje 3 naroda bez nametanja modela sa strane.
Selma's father has managed to get a message to Jovo Tuta that I have letters for him from his son and ex-wife in England. His obvious urgency sends me fumbling among the many letters I have been given by refugees who don't know if their families are still alive. Jovo insists that I come for dinner one night in return for what he tells me is the best news he has ever had in his life.
Ne znam, odšla mi je čer prije 2 mjeseca sa Jevrejima.
Da.
Sa konvojem. I
Dobio sam vijest da su dobro u Splitu, ali ne znam gdje su, jesu u Londonu, jesu li uspjeli šta, kako su smjestili, šta je, kako.
Ima li išta tu?
Ima sve dobro.
Sve je dobro.
Sve.
This is the 8th floor of the Holiday Inn Hotel. All the destruction that can be seen from this window, and much more besides, was done mainly from guns firing from my right, from this mountain and beyond, because this is the territory which the Serbs hold. Now, any talk about the Bosnian army or the so-called Muslim forces shelling themselves is total nonsense if you see the lie of the city. The city crammed into the small bowl of this mountain valley. There is no room. There is no room for extra guns to fire, for guns which belong to the Bosnian army to fire on itself. There is no room for them because there is the city, there is the mountain, there are the guns up there, here is the city, the stuff comes in from there. It can be heard in the background now. They are giving us a New Year's Day greeting, no doubt. I myself lived in the center of the city up there, and night after night heard the shells coming in over my head from the south, from the mountain, into the town. Talk about the Bosnians shelling themselves is a lie and a dirty lie, and I hope very much that this view proves it. Down here below me is the Parliament Square. I was present on Sunday the 5th of April when the people of Sarajevo gathered in hundreds of thousands to protest against the proposal of the Serbian Democratic Party that Bosnia-Herzegovina should be partitioned into a Serbian part, a Croatian part, and a Muslim part. People said, no, we don't want this, and they gathered in their hundreds of thousands to protest against that, a peaceful demonstration. And suddenly, from this hotel where we are now standing, came shots which were fired on the crowd. I am not sure what the casualties were. I believe one person was killed and a few were injured. It was a small event in terms of what's happened since, but it was the first shock of the war. The point is that this city is innocent. This city did nothing to provoke this attack. On that day, the 5th of April, began the blockade of the city and the firing on the city. 500,000 people, half a million people trapped in this city, not allowed food, not allowed water, not allowed electricity. That's it. It began on that day. It began unprovoked. A new bread shop opened that morning, just here on the right. Now, I regularly came up here to buy bread every morning. I, at that time, was still living in the students' hostel, which is just 5 minutes walk down the road. And I came to buy bread from one of the delivery lorries. Delivery lorries came around every morning. We used to queue up and wait for them to come. That morning, for reasons I can no longer remember, I didn't come up here. Instead, I went to see a friend, and but I do remember that before I left, I heard the explosion, wondered what had happened, saw the crowd gathering, began to walk in this direction, and then decided that if something had happened, there was nothing I could do. I would simply be a spectator,
so it's best to keep away. Instead, I went to visit a friend to find that the whole thing was already on their television screen. So I sat there in a kind of numb shock watching this and asking myself, can this be Sarajevo? Because this was the first piece of mass bloodshed that occurred.
Despite repeated bombardment, Bosnia-Herzegovina TV has managed to keep operating throughout the war, broadcasting the images which the West so often suppresses. While I was translating for the presidency, I made a lot of friends among the Sarajevan media. On my return, I am interviewed by both the TV station and Sarajevo's indestructible newspaper, Oslobođenje, which, despite even heavier bombardment, has missed only one day. The temperature in this windowless room is about -10 centigrade.
Jamila, is that right?
Jailana.
Jehana.
Well, you remember pretty well because it was a long time ago.
I remember you well, but
yeah.
I'm terribly bad with names. Your hands must be icy.
Nothing.
Do you have at least a fairly warm home to go home to?
Yes, well, I live in a building which has no chimney. So, my mother and I, we bought a, what is it called?
Stove.
Yeah, a stove. So we put this chimney through the windows, but we have no wood. We have no wood. It's very expensive, you know. Just for a bag of wood, you have to pay 20 German marks. It's very hard. My father got killed by a grenade 3 months ago. So since then it has been